La for, hit ya for none. All the time, la for, hit ya for none. For Islam stand for peace.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, our dear viewers, and welcome to another program on the Inspirational Africans, coming to you from MTA International Gambia Studios. On today's episode, we have one brother with us, that is Sekou Omar, Allagi Sekou Omar Dibba, who is an educationist here in the Gambia. But before we go on asking him about where he started from or where he was born or whatever, we will go and watch a VT about him, a short VT about him. Then when we are back, we continue with our discussion.
Mr. Allagi Sekou Omar Dibba is the Naib Amir II of the Gambia Jamaat. He is also a senior lecturer at the University of the Gambia. He is a native of Salikene village in the North Bank region of the Gambia. He accepted the Ahmadiyya Muslim Jamaat at a very early age and has since been a devoted member of the Jamaat. After finishing his high school at the Gambia High School in July 1973, he proceeded to further his studies at the School of Public Health from 1973 to 1976. From there, he went to Nigeria and attended the University of Ibadan from 1980 to 1981. University of London School of Comparative Studies for 6 months in 1987, University of Wales in 1990 to 1991. Mr. Allagi Sekou Omar Dibba has served the Gambia in different capacities. He was initially a public health inspector for 3 years, stationed in Banjul Halfdai, Serekunda, Kuntawur and Kaur. He is the founder of the Health Education Unit within the Ministry of Health and became the head for many years. This unit has grown massively and has a major impact in the health education of the masses. Mr. Allagi Sekou Omar Dibba was one time the administrator of the Ahmadiyya Muslim Jamaat Hospital in Talinding. He worked for different agencies and organizations, leaving a positive and lasting impact wherever he passes through. He is currently lecturing at the University of the Gambia. He is, like he said, tired but not retired. Listen to his story and yet inspired.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, and welcome again. Welcome back to the program from that short video. So, like we said in the beginning, we are here today with Allagi Sekou Omar Dibba. Allagi Sekou Omar Dibba, assalamu alaikum and welcome to the program.
Wa alaikum salam, Ustaz. Thank you very much.
We start from, let's say, your childhood. From there, then we go into other things. Where were you born and brought up?
Thank you, Ustaz, for inviting me to participate in this very important program. Interesting, of course. I was born and raised in Salikene village in the Central Badab district of the North Bank region of the Gambia in 1952. And I spent a good deal of my childhood days in that village. Because from 52 to 1967, I was there, throughout. I only had to leave the village in 1967 to come to Crabaland School. So it's privilege, indeed, to engage the audience on this interesting program. Of course, at the age of 7, I registered in the village Dara, the village open Quranic school at the age of 7. And at the same time, that was a few years before I enrolled for school, because I went to school in 1962 rather, Salikene Primary School. I was a little bit over the age of registration or enrollment, but the headmaster understood, and he cooperated with my father. So I went to school in 1967. My primary school days lasted from 67 from 62 to 1967 when I came to Krabalan School in Banjul. In those days, Krabalan School was, we call it, junior secondary school. And that's equivalent to upper basic today. I was in Krabalan School for 4 years. I left Krabalan School in 1971 when I took the, what we call secondary 4 examination. That's like grade 9 today. And I did very well in that exam because I was among the top 20 students in the Gambia in 1971. So I found my way to the Gambia High School in 1971. I was in Gambia High School 71 to 1973. So I completed my high school education in 1973 and then went into a professional training. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Mr. Dibba. From, like you said, you were born in Salakin in the year 1952, and you spent a great deal of your childhood and youthful age there in Salakin, and from there you came to Crab Island.
Quite right.
And then to Gambia High School.
Yes, yes.
But tell us a little bit about your professional training, because your schooling did not stop just in junior secondary school.
Yeah, my general education spanned from 1962, right, to 1973, my basic education. And when I left the Gambia High School in 1973, I worked briefly for a fishing company in Banjul for a couple of months. Then I resigned and opted to work for agriculture department in those days as a trainee agricultural assistant. I remember I was posted to Jambanjeli village in West Coast region, and I was at Jambanjeli Agri Station for a few months. But I left unceremoniously, rather unceremoniously. And my intention was to go to Form 6 at Gambia High School. But youth, a typical youth trait. I wasn't quite sure of what I really wanted. So I left Jambanjeli Mixed Farming Center or Agri Station. I went back to Banjul to enroll at, I served as a receptionist at Atlantic Hotel for about 6 months after Jambanjeli. And when I was at the hotel, I was offered by government to go and do a diploma program in tourism in Denmark, but I declined. So I went to the School of Public Health. The School of Public Health is one of the 4 schools that constitute the Gambia College. But then the Gambia College complex, did not exist. So I went to school, the Gambia College in Banjul, School of Public Health in Banjul, 1973 to 1976. And when I graduated, I was issued West Africa Public Health Inspector's Certificate. This certificate course was accredited by the British Royal Society for Health in the UK. We were about 27 that graduated together in 1976. And when I graduated as a public health inspector, it took a while for the government to appoint us officially, all right? It was about, so for 1 year, we were not appointed. We were receiving student stipend, can you imagine? Right? But my first posting was in Banjul, Halfdai. Banjul was divided into public health districts. I worked in Halfdai briefly for about 1 year, then to Serakunda Health Station. And after Serakunda, I was posted to Kuntaur in 1977. From Kuntaur, I proceeded to Kaur. I was in Kaur for 2 years, working as public health inspector, 1977 to 1979. And it was when I was in Kaur that I saw my wife, my wife, she was going to school. She was in Form 3. I saw her, I approached her parents and expressed my interest to marry her. This is the mother of Ustaz Allagi Dibba. She was very young then. After my 2-year tour of duty in Kaur, I was recalled to Banjul, medical headquarters. And after my leave, I was tasked by the then Director of Health Services, Dr. Ibrahim Samba, to set up a new unit called the Health Education Unit in the Ministry of Health in 1979.
Did that happen before you went to study in Nigeria?
Yeah, that happened before I went to study in Nigeria. You know, it was a struggle to set up a unit. I had no professional training, but he said, forge on, please, go ahead. I said, Doctor, how can I start a unit? I have no clue about this discipline. So it was during those chaotic days that he negotiated a scholarship for me from the World Health Organization for me to go to Nigeria. And I proceeded to Nigeria. I went to the University of Nigeria in 1980. I was there for 1.5 years or so. And while I was there, it was the University of Ibadan that I attended. And I did my advanced diploma in health education. So that's my specialty. Health education is all about, you know, engaging the masses, educating the masses, you know, enabling the masses, okay, to live healthy lifestyles, you know, to live healthy lifestyles, okay. And after my training in Nigeria, I came back home. Well, after the theoretical part of my program in Nigeria, I was sent to Zambia to do my practical training in Zambia. I went to Zambia. I was in Zambia for 3 months. And while I was in Zambia, there was this 1981 attempted coup led by Kuka Sambasana. You know? And those days were very hard for me, okay? Because I was a young fellow out in Zambia, and there was a coup in my country, in my home country. Can you imagine the trauma, you know, the trauma and you know that I went through? Anyway, I came home safe, in one piece, alhamdulillah. You know? And when I came back in 1981, I went back to the health education unit to strengthen the unit. And I recruited about 2 other people, 2 other public health inspectors. And that was about it. So we were there, you know, nurturing the unit, okay, expanding the unit and building the new unit. That unit is the nucleus for the present day Health Education and Promotion Directorate. It's now a full-blown directorate, full-blown directorate. While I was at the Health Education Unit, I had considerable exposure, both within and outside the country, right? I had some challenges there because the leadership of the ministry, they had a very faint idea of my discipline, you know, health education. You know, they were not sure of what health education really was, you know. So I had a lot of difficulty making them understand health education and the direction I wanted to chart out, you know, to develop the unit. Well, I managed, and the unit grew from strength to strength. We worked with a large number of government departments, civil society organizations, communities, international bodies, attending conferences and workshops, undertaking short courses, and building the capacity of the Minister of Health in this new area of health education. And then came primary health care. The Gambia officially adopted the primary health care strategy in the mid-1980s, and health education being one of the 9 pillars, one of the global 9 pillars of primary health care, made a difference. It made a difference. And the adoption of primary health care as the country's main strategic framework for delivering health care really informed the perception and attitude of the leadership in the ministry. And that helped me a lot. Yeah. That's about my career. Of course, in 1997 or thereabouts, I secured a departmental transfer from the Minister of Health to Social Welfare Department as a deputy director, because I was frustrated, really. I was frustrated, and that frustration triggered my move to seek a departmental transfer from Minister of Health or from Medical and Health Department to the Social Welfare Department in 1997. And I didn't know I was jumping from the frying pan into the fire. I didn't know. So when I went to Social Welfare as a deputy director, the environment there was not very good. Okay, there was a lot of confusion. There was a lot of misperception of the role of that department. And there were a lot of challenges, resources, capacity, human resource. So then I came to a conclusion that this was not the best place for me, really. So I transferred,
Again?
Yeah, I transferred again to the Gambia Food and Nutrition Agency, GAFNA, Gambia Food and Nutrition Agency. GAFNA is an NGO, it's a local NGO. And I went to GAFNA in 1998 and worked as deputy director, as head of program, as head of health and training. So I had 3 positions there combined. But I had a very good boss, late Albert Cox, and we had a very wonderful team at GAFNA. Highly motivated team. Everybody was committed. Everybody was interested in what they are doing. So we made a difference. Our focus was on promoting nutrition for women of childbearing age and children under the age of 5. Yeah, so I was there for 2 years, and again I left.
Okay, let's go back to your professional training.
Yeah.
I think your professional training did not stop just in the public health, the Gambia. You went to Nigeria. From there too, you told me before.
Before I left for the Social Welfare Department, yeah, I went to University of London in 1987 to do a 6-month diploma program. The School of London, the University of London School of Comparative Studies, for 6 months. This training had to do with distance learning for developing countries. The orientation was for developing countries. And I came back. When I completed, I came back. Then I went back to UK in 1990 to do my master's degree in health promotion at the University of Wales, in Cardiff, precisely in Cardiff. And I finished in 1991. I remember one of the professors, advised me to go for a PhD. Then I said, no, Prof, I'm going home. Mr. Dibba, why don't you stay and proceed to do your PhD? But I declined. I was bent on coming home. I miss my young family. And I miss the extended family. So I felt there was a need for me to come back to continue serving the government, and that's exactly what I did.
And let me ask you maybe there, why would you do that? Because in those days up till now, let's say African youths dream always of going outside. You have been to Nigeria, you came back, and you have been to London once, twice, and then you came back.
And
what
I was
was your
in America,
motivation for coming back?
and the United States, attending a few conferences. You see, people have different motives for wanting to leave the country. Each case is different. People have different motivations and different aspirations. Yeah, my motivation really, has always been to stay here and work for the country and to serve Jamaat Ahmadiyyat. This has been my motivation. And with that kind of conviction, and motivation, that translated to really decision making, rational decision making. So that's what kept me going, coming back. I could have stayed in UK, oh yes, and worked. But in my view, there's nothing like family, Ustaz. Nothing else is as precious as family. Nothing under the sun, nothing. And yes, I could have earned a lot of money to stay, but that would disconnect me from my extended family and my community. In this country, I think people have an obligation really to serve the country, right? Selflessly, and to do your bit for your extended family. To contribute to your quota, to the welfare of the extended family. And for me, these are great values, I think that's what kept me going, really. This is what kept me going. Yeah. I tell these young people, you can go to Europe and stay for 20 years without getting married. By the time you are 50, you have a first child. That's a disaster. It may be applauded. It may be applause in the north, in Europe, but here, that's a disaster. That's a disaster. So it depends on people's personal values and their motivations. Yeah.
So let's talk about the when you were in the provinces, you were called back to Banjul to set up the health education unit. And like you said, it was a challenge for you. You didn't have the experience and the like, but you did try and set up that unit. Can you tell us how huge that unit is today, and what is the benefit it has in the population?
Yeah, as head of the health education unit in the Ministry of Health, 1979 to 1997, I rose through the ranks. Okay. Now, some of the achievements we have registered is, broadening the horizon of health education in the country, thereby building a very strong partnership and coalition, not only in government, but in civil society and NGOs, right? That's one of the remarkable achievements. And secondly, as a unit responsible for planning, coordinating, supervising, and advising the leadership on health promotion programs, through rigorous implementation of our programs and activities, we have been able to make an impact on the lives of the people of this country, really. Okay, even though I cannot recall us conducting an impact assessment of our programs, but there's no doubt that we had contributed immensely to enlightening the population, okay, on issues affecting them, health issues affecting them, okay. We contributed enormously to building the capacity of communities to live healthy lives, okay, and to adopt prevention as the key to health, to adopt preventive measures and promotive measures as the key to health. Yeah. So, and that's a remarkable achievement. Okay. We left a legacy behind. Okay. The health education unit is the nucleus of today's Directorate of Health Promotion and Education. It's a big department now in the Ministry of Health. Okay. And they have a very good complement of professional staff, across various disciplines. I trained the first head of the first director of the directorate. He was trained by me. And today we can boast that it is one of the most vibrant, departments in the Ministry of Health. Okay, they have their own office space now at Kotu. In my days, we had only two small offices, 2 small offices. Okay, And today, they have quite a number. They have a lot of resources at their disposal, you know. And you can feel their presence all over the country to help almost in direct way. Yeah. And one of the, again, capacity building is important. Human resources is very important in the development and growth of any institution. I was able to prevail on the authorities for us to train more people in health education and the other disciplines in the ministry. We train a lot of people. And today, you know, they are all over the country. Some of them are out, and some of them are working overseas and are contributing to human health and development, you know. And for me, that's very satisfying, you know. It gives you a sense of accomplishment, really. Those are some of the things, successes we have registered.
So now let's talk about maybe your work for the Ahmadiyya Muslim Jamaat.
Yeah.
Part of what you said always brought you back home was your connection to your family and to the Jamaat, and to work for the Jamaat.
Yes.
So you tell us your commitment to the Ahmadiyya Muslim Jamaat.
I took the bayat at a very young age. I was 14, you know, in Sali, Kenya. I was 14, very young. But I had reasons, you know, for taking the bayat. And when I took the bayat in Sali, Kenya, in the mid-60s, I came to Banjul. I maintained my connection, you know, with the Ahmadiyya mission in Banjul. Then the mission house was at 75 Lancaster Street in Banjul, and then 88 Perseverance in Banjul. I was a voracious reader. I was really a very voracious reader. You know, I'll take a book. I could read a book in 1 day, 2 days, completed. Not today. Today I'm a horrible reader, you know. I was a very, very active reader. And that really broadened my knowledge. Not only about Islam Ahmadiyya, but Islam in general. And it was when I returned from Nigeria that I started taking offices in the Jamaat. Qudam al-Ahmadiyya, I was a very strong member of the Qudam al-Ahmadiyya, very active member. I served as social welfare, secretary social welfare, secretary Talim, you know, and many other. I also served as financial secretary for Banjul area, not national, but for Banjul area, okay. And then for the past 20 years or 30 years, you know, I found myself in the National Army, right? In the National Army, and serving as stage secretary for successive Jalsa Salanas. So, and I remember when the fourth Caliph came here. When the fourth Caliph came here, I spent the night on that fence. This fence we are facing. You know, I spent 2 nights sitting on the fence, you know, serving as security. So I was one of the active, you know, Qudam security boys in those days. Yeah. And of course, I was involved in a lot of training, you know, for auxiliary bodies, you know, Lajna Imaila, Qudam al-Ahmadiyya, you know, training, you know, as secretary Tarbiyat. I used to be physically involved, physically participate in training programs, you know, in tours, in istimas, you name it. Yeah. As age creeps in, I'm trying to slow down, but it's not easy to slow down in the Jamaat. You know? You want to slow down at one end, you are overloaded at another end. And that's about it. In terms of service to the community, to the Jamaat. Yeah.
So what?
I remember before the birth of the GRTS or the television, because the television programs started we used to go to the Radio Gambia a lot to run programs on Islam and Ahmadiyat on Radio Gambia. That was before television broadcasting started in the Gambia. I remember I went there on a few occasions with Ahmed Dawud Hanif, late Numujo Tarawale, late Ibrahim Bo. So we used to go to Radio Gambia to run programs, and that helped. That has helped a lot. I also was in the editorial board. I used to be in the editorial board of Al-Islam and then Al-Ansar. Yeah, Al-Ansar is no more, right? But I used to be in the editorial board for Al-Islam. I'm no longer there. Yeah, that's about it, Of course, I worked for the Ahmadi Hospital as administrator for 5 years, and I left in 2005. In 2005. No? Yeah, I left in 2005.
2005.
Yes.
So, Mr. Dibba, thank you very much. But before, time is already against us, but before we leave, we will want to hear your advice for the young people. Maybe you have advised people outside
all my life
for so many times, but
yeah.
we will also want to hear your advice for the young people. Maybe for our viewers, some of them may benefit.
Yeah. My modest advice to the young people of this country is a clear message. First, in this day and age, Islam is going through a lot of turbulent times. The faith is going through turbulent times. The enemies and adversaries of Islam are working very hard, to misrepresent the true teachings of Islam. They are working hard. So I advise the young people to endeavor to know their religion. Whether it's Christian or Muslim, young people need to know their religion. That's important. Religion is something that cannot be relegated, to the background. It's as important as other aspects of life, This life is temporary. We'll all go one day, and young people need to recognize that conviction that someday you will die, and you will account for your deeds, in the present life. This should be taken seriously by young people. And unfortunately, in this country, we are seeing a very worrisome situation. Religion doesn't seem to be taken seriously by young people. The impact of the media on the Muslim youth is phenomenal. The media is open. It's open. You have all sorts of influences coming through the media.
In all sorts of contexts.
In all sorts of contexts. And that calls for one stepping back and making an analytical judgment of what is right and what is wrong. And your path, you toward the path of the truth. You toward the path of Islam. If you are Christian, you toward the path of Christianity. Right? That's important. Another message I have for them is to acquire skills. It is important for young people to acquire skills, because when you acquire a skill, you can support yourself. You can contribute to nation building. You can contribute to the development of your community, and you can serve your family. Right? So acquiring a skill is important. It's an avenue to earning an income, a decent income, and a lawful income for that matter. So really, I encourage young people to take education seriously, to take vocational training seriously, because this is where success lies. People who are believed to be successful in life, it doesn't happen overnight. It takes a struggle. You have to work hard and toil and struggle. Then it becomes successful. It doesn't come overnight. All right, that's the advice I have for the young people. And if you are an Ahmadi youth, stay within the ranks of the Jamaat. Okay, maintain close ties with the Jamaat. Maintain close ties with the Jamaat. Nobody says you're going to make friends outside the Jamaat. No, Islam is about friendship. Islam is about serving God and mankind. But to serve God and mankind, you have to broaden your social connections. But what we're calling for is sensible social connections. No. Sensible and rational social connections. Not social connections that will influence you negatively. And that's how youth ruin themselves. They indulge in things that are not helpful, but are detrimental, to human development. That's the message I have for them.
Thank you very much, Mr. Dibba. And viewers, this is all time allowed us. Today, on your program, The Inspirational Africans, we were talking to Allagi Sekou Omar Dibba, who, like we have said, is an educationist, and he is still now serving the Gambia because he is still now serving as a lecturer at the University of the Gambia. So this is all time allowed us. Until we come your way next time, from us MT International Gambia Studios, we say Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
La for hate for none all the time. La for hate for none, hate for none. For Islam stand for peace. La for hate for none all the time. La for hate for none, hate for none. For Islam stand for peace.